Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. I am Allison Harden. I'm Director of Marketing at the Annuity Consultants team. And you haven't ever seen me because I'm always the one behind the scenes answering your questions. So it's an honor to actually be here today because we're interviewing, obviously, Stephanie. So it looks a little different from usual because I have the honor of interviewing her, our very own founder and CEO, Stephani Lucas, who's the brain behind this whole Heart-Centered Planning series. So when we were thinking about today's topic, which is living your vision, I thought, well, what more perfect person should be to talk about this than Stephanie? And luckily she agreed to do it. I'm so glad you did. Because she has so much to share on this topic as someone who's truly living out her vision in her daily life and in her business. So we're excited to talk about that. A little background on the Heart-Centered Planning series. It's all about connecting with your clients on a soul level, so you can give them unbiased recommendations based on their needs and desires. So it's really taking your business to the next level by making it a calling rather than just a day job. So before we get into the questions, as you know, if you've been on these before, if you haven't, it's an informal question and answer kind of dialogue. And throughout, we'll be answering audience questions as well. So if you want to submit a question, you can go into the questions tab on your control panel, type in your question in the space below and select send to all. And then as we see it, we'll answer them. And if you'd rather have a private question, you can click the send privately button, and that works too. So the presentation will last for about 45 minutes, and we have a full hour, so we have 15 minutes left for Q&A if we need to. So it'll be 45 minutes or an hour. So please keep your questions coming, and also we'll be recording this and we'll send out an email to all attendees. So you'll all get this later. It'll be on YouTube and you can watch it anytime or share it with your friends and family or whatever you would like to do. So now let's introduce our speaker. Obviously, she needs no introduction, but it's my great pleasure to introduce my colleague and also very good friend, Stephani Lucas.
Thank you.
Of course, we actually met through one of our previous speakers, Whitney Yarnall, a few years ago, and who would have thought that now we'd be both living in Austin working together. So she's the founder and CEO of the Annuity Consultants, a boutique FMO she founded in 2010. The Annuity Consultant specializes in annuities, life insurance, disability income, long-term care, and asset-based long-term care. She's also the co-founder and CFO of lifestyle brand Spiritual Masochists. And after about 20 years in the insurance and financial sector, she grew frustrated by the lack of depth and egocentric business practices. So out of her passion to change the industry from the inside out, she launched the Heart-Centered Planning series, a series of guides and webinars that focus on the transformative value that mindfulness and meditation can have for your business and your daily life. She holds a bachelor's degree in international business with a focus on leadership and management with a dual degree in marketing. Pretty impressive. From Arizona State University, W.P. Carey School of Business. And she lives in her lovely home, in her home studio, where we are today in Austin, Texas. Welcome so much, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I know. My pleasure. So today, obviously, we're talking about living your vision. Now we'll jump into the questions. So I'll do a little definition before we get into that. So what does living your vision really mean? So having a vision goes beyond your college experimentation with hallucinogens or a plan that you map out to follow to build the business of your dreams. Deciding what the vision is for you takes perception, awareness, intuition, inspiration, decision-making skills, and leadership. When you have a clear vision and follow that vision, decisions become easier. And as a result, your business flows easier and better. Vision is defined as the act of power or imagination. The dictionary defines it as the following: a mode of seeing or conceiving, unusual discernment or foresight, direct mystical awareness of the supernatural, usually in visible form. But don't worry, we're not going to get too woo-woo or metaphysical here. We're going to keep this grounded and practical. So we're going to talk about practical ways to discover your vision and actually make it a reality. So to start out, Stephanie,
yes.
In your own words, how would you define what it means to have a clear vision?
Well, for me, I think having a clear vision is really being able to tap into my intuition and feeling what feels right and feels good, you know, being able to go inward and evaluate what it is that I really want to bring to the world, and then trusting that. So really having a deep sense of trust in oneself.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how did you, in your own way, identify what your vision was for your life and your career?
Gosh, it took a long time to find that, right? So I've been in this industry almost 20 years, and I was trying to do what everybody else was doing, promoting products and doing what I thought everybody wanted versus what I wanted. I wasn't doing this for myself. I was doing it for everybody else. And when I finally realized that I needed to do this for me and I needed to be happy, is when I really was able to see the vision of what we've now created through the Heart-Centered Planning series.
That's great. And as you mentioned, you've been in the financial insurance industry for a very long time.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of experience. You have a lot of experience with that world. Can you share a brief history of your career and life in that world before you changed your path and began to live out your purpose and vision?
Yeah. So I worked with 3 different FMOs throughout my career before I started this company, and I definitely was in the rat race. I was, burning the candle at both ends, right? And I was spending a lot of time entertaining and partying and really, drinking significantly. And our industry throws good parties. So,
Yeah.
and so I was doing all of the extracurricular activities that I thought were necessary to build the relationships in order to do the business, right? And I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't really doing what I needed to flourish as an individual. Now, my business was flourishing, because that was really fun to be around.
Right.
But I wasn't doing myself any favors, and I was not treating myself in a way that was very respectful. I definitely could have used water instead. So coming to the realization that I had a problem and that I was doing things for the wrong reasons was when things shifted and really changed for me. After starting my company, a couple years into it, I was at the peak of my addiction, and going through this process and realizing that I was an addict was really what brought me to where I am today. I had to really hit rock bottom and realize that I wasn't living my sole purpose. I was wasting my life, and I'm getting emotional.
That's good.
And I realized that the only way that I could do what I'm supposed to do here was to, take care of myself and to really, change my behavior and become this person that loves, accepts, and honors my what has been given to me, which is my body. And when I realized that, I was able to then see what it was that I was supposed to bring to this industry, what we were very much lacking, which is love, compassion, and kindness. And not just love, compassion, and kindness for others, but for ourselves. And so, yeah, that's been my journey. There's a lot more to it. And I've had conversations with people I work with, but I would be happy to have these conversations with other people, because I know that these things exist in our lives, and our country is plagued with addiction problems, and it was one thing that really changed my direction in life was coming to that realization that, like, I didn't have to do it that way. So much happier.
It's so inspiring to me, one, as your friend, but to see the transformation that I know this has had on your life. Of course. And can you share, so I knew you shared how this shift has impacted you in this financial and insurance industry. I know you work with some people that you've shared this heart-centered way of being with. Can you talk about an example of an agent who adopted kind of their vision and how that's changed their business?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I go into that, I want to actually mention that there was a study done that 80% of people in America are dissatisfied with their jobs. And so to me, that means we have a lot of work to do, right? And I feel that the work that we're talking about in these guides can really help people to come out and really look at themselves and be truthful and honest to become what it is that they truly desire, and to find the work, the business, the career, whatever it might be that makes them happy. And so one example of an agent that I work with who is an incredible person, I've worked with him for about 12 years, and about 5 years ago, he was struggling with a lot. He had multiple losses in his family. He, had a very busy business, and the stresses of life, his personal life and his business life, were really getting to him. And so I, just asked him if he had ever tried meditation, and he had not. And so I suggested, hey, before any of your meetings, just take about 5 minutes and do a little meditation to center yourself. And so he started doing that, and it became a part of his daily practice to do those meditations before his meetings. He became more present with his clients. His planning, his ability to plan for them got better because he was listening to them and really what they needed, and not thinking about the solution that he had in mind for them before they even talked about what their fears were and what their desires are or any of that. And so it changed the way that he did business, and he started doing this in the mornings before he went to work. And it created better relationships with the people he works with. It created better relationships with his wife and his kids. And now his family, his wife and kids, they all practice meditation, and their home is in more harmony. His business is better than it ever has been. And in fact, his wife now works with him. So and, it's a difficult task to be with somebody 24/7. Now you've got somebody you work with and you live with and you're married to, but they make it work and they absolutely love it, and they complement each other in such a way that is just beautiful. And so for them to be able to find that balance and to grow a wonderful family practice because of incorporating this is it's beautiful and it's amazing. So
that's something that I love, is that every guide has a featured agent with a similar story.
Yeah.
So you should definitely check those out. But I love that, this is just one conversation that you had with one person, and then who knows who he's going to talk to and be able to inspire,
right,
because of a kind of small thing. It's actually not a small thing.
Yeah.
It can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So we've touched on the Heart Center Planning series, of course.
Mm-hmm.
This is your vision.
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about how this came to be? So I know you mentioned, and some of us know, that it was on your trip to Bali, but can you expand on that?
Yeah, so I'll be really honest. I never thought that this would be a conversation that we would be having, nor did I think it would be something that I would be creating, because I just thought that inherently people were good and people loved each other, and love would just be all around us. And the older I get, and I don't know if it's the more cynical I get or what, but it seems that there's more violence on TV, there's more violence in the media, there's so much more violence just all around us. And, everything that we're experiencing right now is just, it hurts my heart. And I feel for the people that are so negatively impacted by so much hate happening in this world. And I didn't know what to do. And so I just thought, well, one thing I could do is change who I am and bring this way of being into my life, whether it's somebody I do business with or somebody I interact with at the grocery store or wherever it is, that I would be the change that I want to see in the world. I know that everybody's heard that quote. Right?
It's a good quote for a reason.
But yeah, the fact that we're having this conversation and having to remind people to be kind, compassionate, and loving is disheartening, but also it shows me that we have a lot that we can do together, and we have a lot that we can do on our own. And I guess, does that?
Well, yes. And also, what was it about the people in Bali that inspired you? And weren't you actually doing a meditation with them?
Yes. Okay. So this whole series came about when I was in Bali in the summer of 2019. In fact, I was with Whitney Yarnall, who
You already mentioned.
yeah.
The reason that we
Yeah.
know each other.
Yeah. So Whitney's been like a catalyst to a lot of things, clearly. And she's a wonderful person. So if you guys have not experienced any of the work that she's doing, I highly recommend it. She was on Guide 4.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So anyways, yeah, traveling in Bali, like really experiencing the way that people live and work there. Like there was so much love and respect for other people that exists. You could just feel it. It was in the air. And no matter what people did, they showed so much pride in what they did. And they don't make very much money. They make such a small amount compared to what we make. I want to say like the average is like 240 to 500 a month.
Wow.
Like that is not very much, right? And they're able to live on this and be happy and show each other so much like kindness and love and compassion. And I thought, we are not doing it right. We're not treating each other the way that we need to be treated, and everything is about profitability, and it doesn't need to be. It's like if we did all the right things for the right reasons, the money would follow. And so that's where this kind of came about, was like, if we can change the way that we are and do this because we want to be better for us, it is going to create a better environment in all aspects of our lives, in our businesses, in our homes, and out in the world.
Yeah. I like what you said in your bio too about changing the industry from the inside out.
Yeah.
Like it really does start from within.
Absolutely.
Well, with that said, so what has been the most challenging aspect of living your vision for your business and your life?
So the most challenging aspect of living my vision is really getting this content out into the hands of the people that really could use it. I'm not saying that this is the, best thing since sliced bread, right? Like, but what I do feel is if we can have these conversations and we can be more vulnerable as humans together and really, open our minds to these possibilities of a better place, like it could happen if enough of us have that vision, right? And a big part of creating this way of being, I was actually reading a book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek, which is one I really recommend everybody read. But he talks about, a great leader inspires. And so whether you have one employee or no employees, you can still be a leader and you can still inspire people. And it only takes an action, and in this case, kindness, compassion, or love, right? And so, yeah, the hardest part has really been just getting other people to have these conversations and realize that, this is lacking in their lives.
And speaking of, something we've talked about with this series is, yes, it definitely resonates with this industry, but I feel like, and we've talked about, just for people, anyone in business could benefit from Heart Center Planning series. So with that in mind, what can you share a little bit about the vision for the series as a whole? So beyond the webinars, like what's your vision for the series?
Yeah. So the webinars are a very small part of what I see this series really doing for not just the industry, but for our country and for our world. I am very much like adamant about making a training program of some sort out of this. Now, I haven't really mapped that out. I don't have a full scope of what that looks like at this point, but I do have a vision that it will include a full training program helping companies, whether they're large corporations, small agencies, or individuals, incorporate these different ways of being and it's sort of along the lines of probably corporate wellness programs, something like that. Although again, I'm not like 100% sure of where it's going to go, and it could take many different forms. You know, there's a lot of different things that we could do with it, but the fact is we talk about so many important behaviors in this series, and they're all building on each other to really bring you to this, you know, full love of who you are and the life that you lead. And so if we could help all of the employees in all the industries get to that point, we would be living in a beautiful place, you know. So for me right now, I'm only focused on like the insurance and financial space, you know, like it's not.
Start somewhere. I gotta
Yeah,
start
I gotta start somewhere,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, and not only that, like what I do, what I'm talking about here is not just in my business, but in my life. And so many people come to me and ask me for advice on how to get to where I'm at, you know, because people see the change.
Totally.
They see the difference. They see the change in the way that I speak, the way I treat people, the way that I look. I've actually been aging backwards. If you guys haven't been following my career, I think I'm like Benjamin Button, although I'm not as good looking as Brad Pitt.
You know about that. Matter of opinion. So basically, stay tuned for what else the series is going to turn into.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really big.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I didn't mention is I've also recently read this book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she talks about creativity. And I think I really didn't touch on creativity as being a part of vision, but creativity is a huge part of creating your vision, right? Creating vision. And when your creativity is stifled, then you are really not living the life that you truly desire. And so tapping into your creative process and really opening yourself up to that and allowing it to flow is super important. And what she says in that book multiple times about her own creative process as a writer is that perfection stifles any creative process, and that the keys to creativity is being half-assed and persistent. And so if you can adopt being half-assed and persistent instead of trying to be perfect, then a lot more will happen for you. You know, it does not matter what that looks like, because that perfection is an illusion anyway, you know, because it doesn't exist.
Totally. And I think people, myself included, as a creative person and as a writer, I get stifled by thinking I need to do something perfect, right? So then I won't even try it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not even going to even try to do that because I don't have time, or it's not going to be perfect, but that's really not true.
Yeah.
It can be just trying something, you're at least doing it. Like you're taking steps forward, which is a great segue into the next question, which is, what practical ways do you continue to check in with yourself to make sure you're following the path that aligns with your vision? So is it like a vision board exercise? Is it, you know, journaling, or what things do you do?
Yeah, so I actually have multiple things that I do. I do a lot of, you know, alone time, of course. So sitting with myself. In fact, I recently built a yoga meditation space in my backyard that we've named That's What She Shed. Yes, awesome. That's What She Shed. And if you Google that, you won't find it anywhere. So
I don't Google that, yeah.
so I think I'm onto something here. So I go back there, you know, for an hour, 2 hours every morning before I start my day, and I do stretches and some yoga moves, some, like, you know, listen to music and kind of ground myself and center myself. And I also do some reading, sometimes EFT, which is emotional freedom technique. I don't know if you've ever tried that, but it's actually tapping on your meridian points, and it can help loosen up blockages that exist within your body, and you don't even know what it is that you're working on, or you can have intentions of working on specific things you know are blocking you. And then I also do meditation and journaling. And so my practice consists of multiple things. And I don't think that everybody needs to do all the things that I do. It has taken me years to come up with like, hey, this is, yeah, this is what works for me. And this is how I tap into what it is that I need to be tapping into in order to bring my greatest self to what I do in my business and in my life. So
love that. I mean, I know you mentioned too that one of your agents, he does meditation before every meeting, every phone call.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it could be 2 minutes one day or an hour another day.
Yeah.
Just depends on what works for you.
Exactly.
And I know, so you have your own sacred space at your house, and a lot of people aren't traveling as much right now, but what techniques do you have as for people that maybe you're working or you're with a client or you're feeling like you need to kind of like come back to yourself?
Yeah.
How can you do that when you're not at home?
Yeah, so I tend to travel with my journal, and I also have the ability to meditate wherever I'm at, whether I want to use an app like Insight Timer or just sit quietly. I mean, you find what you need if you need it, right? We're pretty resourceful as humans. And so, you know, when I do travel, if I don't have a sacred space to sit in, you could easily go outside and find a rock to sit on, or even sit on the grass. You know, you could sit in your hotel room, on the floor, on your bed. You know, it doesn't matter where you're at. But if you can find nature, that is a way better place to do that kind of work. Just connecting with nature seems to really help with grounding and helps clear your headspace. And, you know, getting some fresh air is really good for your body and for your mind. So really, whatever works for you, wherever you're at, you can make it happen. You know?
Yeah.
And
so instead of like scrolling through Instagram for the minute in between clients, maybe take a breath.
Totally. Well, I mean, even in the grocery store, like standing in line, you could meditate. You don't have to shut your eyes. Just quiet your mind and take some deep breaths. And, you know, like it doesn't need to be a whole like ceremony, you know?
Right.
It doesn't need to be this elaborate thing. It can be very simple. It's a matter of how much do you want something to work for you, and are you willing to put the work in yourself?
Love
you
that.
Know?
So along those lines, what advice do you have for people struggling to identify their vision for their career?
Ooh, advice for people that are struggling. Well, I actually have, like I mentioned, these couple of books, the Start with Why and Big Magic. You know, reading and meditating and journaling, and then also working with coaches. I've worked with multiple coaches. I have had a therapist. like outside help is really great to be able to bounce ideas off of other people, and really talking through what it is that you are thinking. And, you know, you don't have to have all of the pieces to have the vision, right? Like when I came up with this heart-centered planning series, I had no idea what it was going to look like. And being flexible in that, of like, okay, this is what I think it's going to look like, and then it's going to go in a completely different direction, and being okay with things not working out the way that you thought that they were going to work out, because the way that they did work out is how they were supposed to work out.
Right.
You know,
and not trying to force it into doing something.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing, is like people put their mind to something and that it's going to be a certain way, and then they try to force the results, and you know, that's when failure happens. And also, don't be afraid of failure.
Right.
Because in failure, you can find some really amazing, you know, gems of wisdom that will help guide you to what it is that you really want to be doing, you know? And so I think trying to follow someone else's roadmap is going to end up in failure. It's like, you know, put everything aside and really trust yourself and allow it to guide you to where you need to be.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So speaking of that guidance and vision, what would you say your vision and hope for fellow business owners or people in this industry would be?
My hope or my vision for them,
Yes.
I just hope that people, come to realize that they are worth every bit of the love and acceptance that's available to them, and to realize that they are worthy of success, no matter what that success looks like for them. Everybody's definition of success is different, and so it's like, if you are happy with what you are doing and the results you are getting, that is success. It doesn't matter if someone next door doesn't think that that's success. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, but what you think, and that you love and accept yourself. So my hope and my vision for this industry is that people really start to do what they are meant to do, that they have passion and purpose behind what they're doing, and not doing it for the money. Yeah. And really, really, looking inside and finding what it is that makes them happy and that they're good at.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people don't think that they can be happy doing what they're good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you can. I hope that you can.
Yeah, and that's part of it, is believing in yourself.
Yeah.
If you believe, and this goes back to guide 2 when we were talking about the abundance mindset. If you believe it, it can be. And so it's like there are multiple pieces to this puzzle, and your success is by definition and by your definition, not by anybody else's.
And sometimes too, I think I saw a quote about this one time. If you're not sure what you're really passionate about, it's the thing that you're going to do in your free time. So like if you're daydreaming about something, like for me, music is something I love. I'll be like making playlists or doing something like that instead of like doing some work maybe. Or like for you always gravitated toward wanting to work on this series because that was your true passion. So I think that's an easy way for people to kind of be like, oh, this must be something maybe that makes me happy that I should look into.
Yeah, Allison's a really awesome DJ too.
Side note.
Multi-talented here. So,
thanks for the plug.
So if you're ever in Austin.
Which is a funny story, not to talk about me, but that's another thing, is I didn't believe in myself to do that, even though I love music. I had my cousin and some friends, Stephani included, that had to encourage me to go for it. And then I had, once I like put myself out there, I realized how much I love doing it. So you never know. It could be something like that.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah. And also talking about like the Heart-Centered Planning series and my passion, everything that we talk about in each of the guides, like I do all of them. And I've read all those books and I've read all those blogs, and every single thing that I put in there, I've done. And so I know it works. It's, and I'm not saying that the way that I do it is necessarily the way that you need to do it, but incorporating some of these things could potentially help you to live the life that you truly desire and to find what it is that you truly have passion and what your vision is.
So I think there's something that sometimes goes along with that, and it's when you are in alignment with that vision, maybe people from your past who knew you as a different person like may not be in alignment with that anymore. So has living your vision ever caused you to lose a relationship or a client, and how do you handle those situations?
Oh yeah. So that's a tough question. And I know that especially a lot of the agents and advisors that are on here, I've talked to you guys about clients that are difficult, that you don't particularly care to work with, and I know for a fact that my advice has been, don't work with them. If your energy is spent on things that don't, benefit you or them, like don't work with them. You have only so much energy. you have only so much life force. There is no reason to waste any of that on people that you don't love working with. So I did have a situation where I had an agent that I was working with for several years, and he was doing millions in premium with me, and I made a very, very good living, you know, with him being part of my business. And he constantly would harass me. And it was, you know, I would shrug it off and I would laugh it off. And I thought, like, oh, but it got to the point where anytime I would see his name come up on the phone, I wouldn't want to answer. And which means now I'm not answering to help him with something he needs for a client. Now I'm not doing what I'm here to do, what I have passion to do, which, if you guys didn't know, retirement and income planning is my area of expertise. And that's what I do truly love to do. I love looking at that puzzle and helping people with that part of their, you know, portfolio. And anyways, this guy, anytime the phone would ring, it would make me cringe and I wouldn't answer. And then I would have to like sit quietly with myself and take some deep breaths before I actually called him back. And it got to the point where I had anxiety now when I would see him come up. And his comments got progressively more inappropriate. And it got to the point where I just couldn't handle it any longer. And so it was, you know, keeping business and having revenue, or peace of mind and not feeling gross. So I chose peace of mind and not feeling gross. Now, did it hurt the business for a minute? Yeah, but it was fine. Like, I do retirement and income planning. I'm good with money. So I made it work. And I brought on new agents and advisors that did just as much, if not actually more. And so, because now I've freed up that energy, that worry and that stress, and I didn't have this, you know, like negative, like vibe going on, right? Totally. I didn't project that out when I was now talking to other people. And so when that relationship ended and he moved on to another organization, it was like very, very quick for me to realize that I was really losing a lot more than just respect. I was losing like sleep over it. Oh. I was talking to all my friends about like, what should I say to this guy? And so now I'm like spending not just my energy, but other people's energy on dealing with a situation that all the remedy was just cut it out. Just cut it out. And so that's the advice I could give to anybody that's struggling with a client that they're not loving to work with. Just cut it out. Like it's really easy.
I think that advice probably relates to other things too. Like if there's something that's dragging your vision down, like cut that out. I mean, you did the same with alcohol.
Absolutely.
Like, what other things do you think could happen?
Yeah. Well, terrible food. Yeah.
Terrible food.
McDonald's. Yeah. Hopefully I don't get sued. Well,
I like their fries, so.
Terrible.
I'm just kidding. So you think like being healthy with your body, and I think like toxic relationships beyond business, like those friendships don't always support your vision either.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are so many things. If you sat down and looked at everything in your life and made a list of the things that are unhealthy for you, you would be so surprised. I mean, and not that you have to cut everybody out, but maybe cut the communication down. And also having better forms of communication with them. Like, I actually have a relationship with someone in my family that they're very negative. And so when I get on the phone with them, I ask them, tell me about something positive that happened to you today.
I like that.
To try to
reframe the conversation.
Yeah, just to try to like make it to where we're not always in this negative thought form. Because again, negativity does take so much more energy than positivity, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So
love that.
Nobody needs that darkness around them.
No, definitely not. And if there's people that aren't supporting your vision for your business and life. Like they shouldn't probably be people you're listening to anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Yeah, that's great advice. Super relevant. I know you shared a few books already. Are there any other resources you'd recommend, or any other final thoughts you want to share with the audience?
One thought is questions. Does anybody have questions about my life, about my business? Anybody want to chime in here? We'd love to answer those. Really, anything's on the table. So do ask.
I kind of wanted to know. I know some of your story. You had like a lot of siblings.
Yeah.
You had a difficult childhood, like getting into your career. I mean, if you wanted to share a little bit about that, I think it's valuable for the audience.
Yeah. And so before we got on here, Allison and I were talking about, being entrepreneurial and where that drive came from. And I actually, if you guys don't know, I grew up in a household with 10 kids. I have 8 brothers. And so, being your own person and wanting to be seen, it took a lot of tenacity.
I'm sure.
So I think that's where my drive really came from, that, I am my own person and I want to do things in a certain way. And so being an entrepreneur made so much more sense than going the corporate route. But, we do work corporate adjacent and we do deal with people that are in the corporate world, and there is a lot that can be learned from doing business that way. But yeah, it was an interesting upbringing for sure. And my mom was really good with money, so which is where this whole thing came from. Yeah, in fact, she made me take accounting classes for my electives in high school.
Fun.
So I
love that.
it was so great. We're not doing theater or dance or anything like super fun and creative, but you can get creative with numbers. You can, definitely get creative with numbers. So if anybody needs assistance with that, we do a lot with charitable gifting. If you have clients that are paying a lot in taxes, we can get creative with things. So that was just a little plug. No big deal. But yeah, there was a lot to be learned growing up in a house like that, and it being so much testosterone.
Similar to the financial industry.
Right, exactly. And I think that's how I survived in this industry, because it's very male dominated, even today. I mean, we are definitely getting more women into this industry, thankfully, because, the female perspective on finances are very different than men. And so, like the husband and wife team, their views on things really complement each other. And they come up with like some amazing things for their clients because they are both looking at it from a different perspective. But this industry, as everybody knows, is very male dominated. And I think dealing with 8 brothers really helped me to stick with it. Doing this for almost 20 years, it's crazy to me. It's things that I've been doing it that long.
Awesome.
When I got into this business, I was working in real estate in McCormick Ranch in Scottsdale. And I had a husband and wife that were renting an apartment from me. And they came to me the day they turned in their keys and they said, "We want to hire you. We have loved what you have done to take care of us and made us feel like we were at home here. We want you to come and serve as our agents in that way." And I was like, "Agents? Like, what are we talking about here?" And they're like, they told me they do annuities, and they're like, "We know you probably don't know how to spell that, let alone what that is." And I was like, "No." And they were like, "But we'll pay you twice as much as you're making now." And so as a college student, of course, I was like, I was trying to figure out how to pay for school because like my parents weren't paying for it. They have, 9 other kids. So, and they don't give, scholarships for accounting.
Too bad. Unfortunately, ironically.
So the scholarships were out, and I was really working towards paying for my college education, and this industry actually paid for that education.
Wow.
And not because I went to a company that paid for my tuition. It was because of how well I caught on,
Hmm.
and I was able to help agents and advisors with their clients' retirement and income needs.
That's awesome.
And so I was able to build a very beautiful life because of this industry, you
That's
know.
awesome.
When I was in college, I thought that I was going to be managing bands and I was going to be traveling the world and just having a good old time. Which it turns out band managers don't have a good old time because they're wrangling the band.
Yeah.
And so I got to travel the world and have a good time without having to wrangle anybody. And and really traveling is what has opened my mind to all of the possibilities and helped me see the world for what it is. I'm not stuck in this bubble. And
And also, it's great because you were open to the suggestion from those people.
Yeah.
You never probably would have done this career, but because they suggested to you and you were open to it and were like, okay, I'll try it.
Absolutely.
Then you realize that it was your passion.
Yeah.
And you're good. So
yeah,
that's such a cool closed loop for your vision, how it started.
Yeah.
To see what you're doing now.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is I followed my intuition and my gut, even though what an insurance agent is, or are compared to used car salesmen. and that is terrible, right? And so I was like, what am I getting myself into? But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I'm helping people.
Mm.
I'm doing good in the world and I'm helping people, and that is what drove me to continue in this career and to strike out on my own and create my own thing.
Love that.
Is it the popular way to go? No. but but I am living a life that I truly, truly love, and I get to work with people that I love working with. And that's another thing is when I worked for these other FMOs, I had to work with the agents, no matter how they talked to me, no matter how they treated me.
Mm.
And now, if somebody talks to me in a way that I don't like, I'm not doing business with you.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. And I don't even need to have an argument with you or have, any kind of, altercation. I'm just not going to, do business with you. And that's that,
Yeah.
In fact, I had one of my RVPs for one of the insurance companies send me a message the other day. And he said, hey, I had a situation that came up where this rep who doesn't do a ton of business, although that shouldn't matter. And he put that in the email. So that's why I said it. Treat me and the other staff very poorly, extremely rude and demanding. And he asked my advice on that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, the fact that somebody in that, role would come to me and ask my advice on that because he knows about the heart-centered planning series that I've created, because he trusts my opinion and that I would tell him the right thing to do. And I told him if he wanted to continue working with this person to have a conversation, although it's an uncomfortable conversation, this was in guide 5 about speaking your truth. So having these 4,
I think.
Oh well,
one of them. Speaking your truth.
Speaking your truth is so important, and taking that opportunity actually is very empowering. Mm. It is amazing the shifts that you will feel within your body, within your mind, and the way that you interact with people when you can be completely honest with people. And it's not always what they want to hear. We don't always get to hear, things that we love. And we don't always have to say things that we want to say, but they need to be said. And I think that that's a big part of this is really being able to talk to people in a way that's respectful and getting your point across without hurting feelings. And however they react to it is
that's their
problem.
Yeah.
So it's you can either take it as constructive criticism and like grow from it or become offended by it. And I have found if you're triggered or offended by something, that's when you need to go and look inside. Where'd that come from? And what do I need to do to work on?
Yeah.
You know? So that's another piece of advice. If somebody triggers you and you get angry about something, think about that. Look into it, and where did that come from? And I will tell you, more than likely, it came from your childhood.
I'm gonna get to that.
That's like a whole other episode.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, I love that. And there's so much more that we could say, and I know that Stephanie can share that she'd be happy to talk with you about one-on-one, but since we're almost out of time, we will be sending a recording to you to this, and then we'll also be including some resources like the books that Stephanie has mentioned. So stay tuned for that.
Also a copy of the guide.
And the guide, yes. And there's 2 more guides left. So there's 2 more webinars in this series.
Yes.
Which we're excited about. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found this session valuable, and we're looking forward to seeing you again next time. So like I said, we'll be sending an email with follow-up in a few days, and be sure to tune in to our next webinar, which is Living Your Purpose, on December 15th, and with a special guest speaker, Amy McElwain. Right? If you're not familiar with her, she was the founder of Financial Social Media years ago. So she really put social media on the map when it comes to the insurance and financial industry. And that's a really important area right now, especially. Yeah. So I'm excited for her talk. In the meantime, visit our website and check out our guides. They're all on a heart-centered planning landing page if you go to theannuityconsultants.com. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram for more updates. And in the meantime, thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you next time.
Yay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, bye.